On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're visiting 3 historic homes from the 1800s that have been lovingly reimagined for modern life. In New Jersey, a teacher and photographer has infused new life into an 1873 home, honoring its history with vintage finds while respecting the original layout. In Chicago, a designer transformed a once-neglected property into a warm, functional, and stylish haven for her family. And on Sullivan's Island in South Carolina, a historic Army-built home has been elevated with a serene coastal palette, blending original features with modern sophistication. This summer, spend the hottest months of the year in style with Homeworthy as we visit the most extraordinary homes around the world. From the sun-soaked shores of the Hamptons to the classic beachfronts of Nantucket to the vibrant courtyards of Morocco, be sure to subscribe to Homeworthy's summer series to make every day feel like a vacation. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Rachel. Welcome to my home in Winona, New Jersey. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Rachel McCauley and I live in Winona, New Jersey. I'm a kindergarten reading teacher and I'm also a photographer and a thrifter. We have lived here just about 9 years. It'll be 9 years next month. And we've actually lived in this town for about 20 years. We moved here in 2004 and we lived in a small brick rancher that was just about 4 blocks away. And we lived there for 12 years and we loved it. We had all of our children there. But before we had kids, we would ride our bikes past this house and I would tell my husband, like, slow down, slow down. Let's look at that house. I love it so much. And I truly believe that I manifested this house for us because we loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the porch. I saw us having a family here. I saw our kids here. I saw, my kids going to prom and taking pictures outside. I saw just our life actually being played out right before us. So it sounds a little cheesy, but it's true. And this house went up for sale and we jumped on it. And so here we are. Welcome to the parlor. So when we moved in, the bottom cabinets were here and I believe they were cream or white. And I just knew that these empty sides were just screaming for more shelving. So we had a carpenter come and build these shelves for us that go almost all the way up to the top. We have 12-foot ceilings in our house. So the whole downstairs has 12-foot ceilings in this beautiful molding that I love and didn't want to touch. So we had these shelves put in and now they display all of my favorite things. So my father is also a photographer and gave me all of his antique cameras. So those are displayed here. And let's see, we also call this the music room. We have a lot of musically inclined people in my family, not me, but everybody else is. So we have some musical instruments in this room and some artifacts that I have up here on the shelves. We have family photos that I love. This is a picture of my husband's grandmother, who I loved, Nanny. And this is my mother-in-law here. And I just love this picture. It just reminds me, she looks like a movie star sitting on a park bench in Central Park. But I just love this picture, so we keep this in here. We also have a record player here that I got for my husband's 40th birthday. And then over the years, he's either taken records from his dad's house or I've thrifted them, and we've built up quite a collection. If you come in here any time of the day, you might hear a record on, most likely Stevie Wonder, my favorite, or Otis Redding. We love to sit in here at night, especially in the winter months when it's cold, and play records, have a cocktail. We have the fire going, and it's just a really cozy room, and I think the black built-ins have really grounded the space and also drawn your eye up so you could really appreciate the height of the room. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the fireplace because I recently learned that this is a cast iron fireplace that was painted to look like marble. So it's faux painted marble. And apparently this was really big in Victorian times. And I love the black, and it has some brown swirling throughout it. It was converted to gas. I'm not sure when, but it's so nice to just click a button and have a fire. We really appreciate that. And so this was my inspiration for using the black built-ins in here, and then also throughout the house to have those black pieces to kind of ground the space. On this side, we have a little mini bar, which makes it convenient, like I said, for cocktails. And then just some more pieces that we love. These are silhouettes of my 3 children when they were little. This is a picture of my grandfather next to his car. I don't know when this was taken, but I just love this little picture of him. And he loved racehorses. He had a few over the years, and when he passed, my mom gave me this little ceramic horse of his, so I put that in that cloche so I could remember him with his picture next to it. More antique cameras, and then, I don't know if you can see up there, that's my husband's great-grandfather. He used to play the accordion, so he was in a big band, and then that's a picture of him by himself with his accordion. So this piano over here is an antique from my grandparents' house. When my aunt was moving, they didn't want it anymore. No one else wanted it, actually. So my husband and I rented a U-Haul and drove to their house in Maryland, a few hours away, to go pick it up. And we absolutely love it. All 3 of my kids have taken piano lessons on it. One of these days, I'm going to take lessons. I swear to it. But in the summer, I love to decorate it with family photos, especially, like I said, at the beach. And at Christmas, I display all of my kids' Santa photos that are always so fun to look at. We also have some guitars in here. My son plays the guitar and my daughter's ukulele. The bottom of the built-ins, I have lots of photo albums. We'll take those out and look through them whenever we can. My husband is a drummer and has been since he was really young. So you'll see throughout the house we have bongos. Upstairs in his office he has his drum set. And our coffee table, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in here, but I ended up finding a piece that is kind of modern, but I like, that it's the opposite of everything else in here. That's antique. And it's just a great place for us to do puzzles in the winter, but also to display some of our favorite things. So right now, we're set for summer. This is a big shell bowl filled with all the shells that we've collected on family vacations. And I like to keep little boxes to hide things, like I said, remotes and things like that. So this is how I have it displayed right now, but it will change constantly, probably every month. In this room, one of my favorite things is this chandelier. When we moved in, it was just like a basic brass chandelier. It was pretty, but I felt like it needed something else in here. So we found this at an antique store down at the Jersey Shore, down near Cape May. This is a Moroccan pierced metal lantern. And I just love the way that it casts the light in this room. We usually have it dimmed, and it just looks so beautiful at night, the way it reflects off the walls. But this was a nice piece, and I thought it added a little unexpected charm to this room. Like I said, my style is very traditional, classic. I love leather, I love dark wood, and so this couch is just a leather sofa that we picked up probably 20-ish years ago. It's held up great. It's classic. The older it gets, the better, and it's super comfy. Over here I have an antique lamp that I found, and this black shade. I love black shades, and I love when they have the gold inside because I feel like it really makes a beautiful golden glow at night. And then these are two of my favorite chairs. I get asked often about these chairs on Instagram, either about where I got them or where I got the fabric. And it's kind of funny because I bought them about 20 years ago online at JCPenney's. But they are in my favorite fabric, which is houndstooth. And I feel like I'm gonna have them for the next 30 plus years because they're just classic. I love the low profile, so you can still see the built-ins and all the fun things that we have in here. And they're just very cozy and small, perfect for gathering in here. And like I said, you know, enjoying a little drink with friends. So I went to our historical society and found a map that had our house on it. This was the oldest map that actually had our house on it from 1886. And I asked the president at the time of our historical society for a copy of the map, took it to Staples, and then had them blow it up. And I had them do it in color so you could see, you know, the old patina on the map, and then had it framed and hung it over the piano so that you could see it when you walk in. All right, let's go into the family room. So here we are in the family room. This is where we spend most of our time as a family together, watching TV or movies. So I wanted this room to be really comfortable, kind of like a deep exhale when, you know, we can all be together as a family. So I found these sofa and love seat that where I chose fabric for them that is linen, and it's that really, you know, comfy, cozy, gets better with time linen. That's super easy to wash and great for kids and a dog. So that's been awesome to have that. And my husband, another gift besides the record player for his 40th birthday is this recliner. What I love about it is it doesn't look like a recliner, but he's able to kick back, relax, and watch the game. And it's still like a nice profile and small enough to fit in this room. The lighting in here, I prefer lamps, but I also do love this antique light that was here when we bought the house. It had milk glass shades, but I took them off because I really like the look of just the open Einstein bulbs and that glow that they give off without the shades. One of my favorite things about this room is the bay window. And bay windows are pretty typical of that Italianate Victorian style. So you can see that has this beautiful arch. The first year we moved in here, we hardly had any furniture, so we got the biggest Christmas tree we could find, and we put it right here in this window, and it was so beautiful. But like I said, maybe we had a chair, so it worked out great. My kids would sock skate around it like Charlie Brown. Since then, we've had to get more furniture for our family of 5 and our pup, so we've had to move some things around. We now put our tree in that corner, but I love to showcase this window. I really don't think I'll ever put curtains on these windows because I love the natural light that comes through. And my favorite thing is to sit right here in the morning and have a cup of coffee. The light just comes streaming in, and it's just such a great way to wake up each day. Over here, I have a small gallery wall that I've been adding to over the years. Some of my favorite pieces are hanging here that I've collected. Everything is secondhand again. I found it's an antique store, the same one where I got our Moroccan lanterns, and different thrift stores around us. These pieces, these are actually a set of 4, and they're etchings done by Lionel Barrymore. And just a quick little aside, my favorite movie in the whole world is It's a Wonderful Life. And so when I found these pictures and I saw they were signed by Lionel Barrymore, I thought, I wonder if that's the same actor that was in the movie It's a Wonderful Life, Mr. Potter. So I did a quick Google search in the thrift store, And it turns out it is. He was an amazing artist. And so when he wasn't acting, when he wasn't working, he would draw and create beautiful art in his spare time. So there's this beautiful set of 4 images that all are around ships and marinas. This one's little boatyard in Venice, quiet waters, and I just think they're so beautiful, and I feel so lucky to find the complete set, especially that had such a connection to the movie that I love. I call it the accidental nautical wall because I didn't mean for them all to be, relating to ships and to the sea, but that's just how it turned out. The bottom picture down here isn't the ocean. It looks like a lake, but it reminded me of Lake Bomoseen, where we've been vacationing every summer for the last 6 years. And this is exactly the view that you see when you get to the lake and you're sitting in the cottage. And it looked just like that. So I got that piece because it reminded me of our family vacations there. Over our gallery wall and over our art here, we have these picture lights that are actually battery operated. Again, with plaster, it's just, it's super tricky to put anything in the walls. And if you make a mistake, things just start to crumble. So we found these battery operated lights so we don't have to run electric. And again, they just turn on with a dimmer, with the remote. Then we can actually dim them at night and turn them off when we don't need them anymore. I chose a round coffee table for this space. I just thought that it fit well. We usually have Stella's big dog bed over there, but again, just like our parlor coffee table, I usually fill it with things that are seasonal, collected. I have coffee table books, and then this is a conch shell that we just got on our recent family vacation to Turks and Caicos. So we got 2 shells. My kids actually picked them up off of the beach. So they are real, legit, not bought at a market. And we thought we had to bring those home, wash them up, and display them. So we have this big jar of dominoes. When my kids were little, they would always take them out and play with them. Now my nieces, when they come over for family parties, they love to take them out and play with them. So I think I'll keep those on this coffee table as long as I can. And blue and white, you'll see, is a big theme. I love blue and white, so wherever I can incorporate that in our house, I do. Just with little clippings, rooting a tree here. This is my grandmom's chefalera that over the years everyone's taken a little piece of and have it in their home. More shells that we got on our trip. These are little conch shells. And just some family photos over here. One of the features I love about our home is it is a very closed concept, the opposite of most homes now, but something that I love is every room downstairs has its own French door to close off each space. So I'm sure that was done for draft purposes a long time ago, but now it's just so great. We can come in here in our family room and shut the door and watch a movie. Or during parties, we can close off a door and kind of have conversations in different spaces. But when we moved in, each door was either painted or stained, so to just kind of make them cohesive, we had all of the doors painted this tricorn black, which I think really shows off the brass hardware and the glass knobs that are on every door. Our house is a Italianate Victorian style. So it was built in 1873, and it was the first house built actually on this street. Our town was founded in 1871 by 2 Philadelphia businessmen. They worked with the West Jersey Railroad system, and they founded this town in the hopes that it would be like a little summer or vacation country home for Philadelphians that needed a break from city life. So this house is very close to Mantua Creek, which has now been dammed and turned into small lakes. So we're just a few blocks away from the lake where we can walk and get a break from the heat of the summer. And I imagine that's what they did during Victorian times with their parasols and their layers of clothes, to walk down and take a break from the everyday and the heat of the summer. So over the years, our house has been modified. We don't know a whole lot about it, but we're actually only the 7th owners of this house. So the name of the home is the Rebecca Busby House. We have a little plaque outside I can show you. The house lived with the family for many generations and many decades. So it's kind of interesting that the house is so old, but we're really only the 7th people that have lived in this home. At some point, these giant front porches were added and these tall columns, and there was a cupola on the top, very much part of that Victorian Italianate style. That was removed. A kitchen was added down here in 1922, and a porch was put on top of that in the back of the house. So it was like a sleeping porch / sun porch. So it has been modified. I won't take you down to the basement because it's kind of creepy, but it has an original hearth in the basement and a well, and there was probably a dirt floor that was covered over with cement a while back. So we don't use it except for storage really because it has low ceilings, but I love that we have that history here. So this is our dining room, and our kitchen is not actually big enough for the 5 of us to sit and share a meal. So we use this table and this dining room for every meal, pretty much every night. I'm a big proponent of eating family meals together, and I really push for it. Even if my kids have sports and activities or my daughter has dance, if we have to meet and have dinner at 8 o'clock at night, I will push for it because I just love that we can all be together here. This table isn't very old. It's only about 20 years old. It's like an old Pottery Barn table, but the patina on it just gets better every year. And we do have a leaf that we put in, and we have parties, and we host Thanksgiving every year. So it can hold about 12 to 14 people, and we just love to gather around. These are actually dried lime lights. The front of our house has a huge hedge of lime lights. They're almost ready to pop, not quite, but when they do, they are beautiful, and I love to dry them and display them around the house. I have vases in almost every room. I think they get better with time. In the fall, they turn brown, and I'll even clip them and put them into my Christmas tree. So this is an ironstone vessel that I got at a yard sale. My neighbor was selling some amazing antiques, and so I had to get this, but I usually display fresh flowers or these dried lime lights when I don't have something in the yard I can clip. So something that I love in this room are the corner built-ins. I have them filled with a lot of different things. My collections, as you can see, I love blue and white. I love copper. I collect, I have these amber glasses and different plates. These are actually from my grandparents. This is a set of transferware that they bought for us when we got engaged. They lived in a 55 and over community, and they had an estate sale where they found a complete service for 14. And so we use this every year at Thanksgiving, and it's really special to me. So I have this displayed in both of these corner cabinets. Inside the drawers and underneath, I have all of our linens and extra pieces from that same set. And over here, same thing, more blue and white. This was a great secondhand find. This blue flow that I love. It's an urn, and so sometimes I'll put a plant in it. At Christmas, I'll fill it up with pine cones and oranges that we like to put cloves in and just have that as a centerpiece on the table. I love to collect brass and bamboo flatware, so that's all in here, and I change this out all the time. My kids think I'm crazy, but I'm constantly moving and changing things around, but it's just fun for me. I just like to do that. So then I can show you over here, we have a small bar set up. Right now we have just, you know, some basic things for summer, but just to make a quick drink if we have friends over. But I'll have this mirror and our collection of blue and white displayed around the mirror right now. Some of these pieces were antiques. This was from my great aunt, this blue flow plate. I don't know if you can see it back there, but that is very, very old. The rest was, I think, just secondhand finds. These prints are really special. We went to Italy for our 20th wedding anniversary, and we went to Florence one night and stopped at a stationery store and found these really beautiful little cards, these note cards, and they're signed and numbered, and they have just beautiful illustrations of the Duomo and then all of the trees and beautiful fields that you would see in Tuscany. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to frame these because it was an inexpensive way to bring a little piece of our trip home. And that's a great tip if you don't want to carry big pieces of art home from your travels. Stop in a stationery store, grab a postcard or a note card, and then you can frame it when you get home as a memento. This chandelier is also around 20 years old. We got it when we got our table. It's an old Pottery Barn, vintage Pottery Barn chandelier. I do change out the shades for the season. So in the summer, I like to put on the rattan shades, but in the winter, I have black shades again that I'll switch them out too. And then over here, I have this old library table that I've kind of repurposed and used to hold all of my cookbooks and gardening books. So that's right off of the kitchen and easy to grab. I have just a clock that I found a few years back and some of our blue and white. Again, these are just different vases that I've collected. I love ferns. We have a lot of ferns outside on our porch, but I try to keep them alive as long as possible in our house. And so here's a little fern that I have in a blue and white secondhand pot. And let's head into the kitchen. Welcome to our kitchen. So our kitchen, we were told, was updated in 1922. There was a kitchen down in the basement, and so prior to that, like I said, with a hearth and everything and a well, but then around that time they brought everything up and made this kitchen area with this breakfast nook. So we think maybe late 90s, early 2000s, the owners that lived here made some major updates. They put in these beautiful walnut cabinetry, these cabinets that I love that go all the way up to the ceiling. It's funny, I recently posted on Instagram that I had gone into ChatGPT and asked ChatGPT to turn my whole kitchen white, and then I hated it. So I thought, all right, I'm going to embrace the walnut and the real wood cabinets and even the brass hardware that's on them. That's all coming back now. And we just did a few minor updates to kind of make our kitchen a little bit more timeless and less 90s. So when we first moved in, there were cream Corian counters and ceramic tile that was kind of like a sponge painted, very 90s brown tile. The walls were painted a dark brown. I think there were even like coffee stencils or something like that, or wine stencils. So we had the whole kitchen repainted and all of the trim. Something I always get asked about are our paint colors. And just as an aside, our whole house pretty much is painted Natural Choice by Sherwin-Williams. And all of our trim is Benjamin Moore's Pure White. So we just kind of wanted a clean slate of fresh, neutral color for our house. And the best part is it looks beautiful in every light. And really just kind of brought our kitchen back to a lighter, brighter place. So we, in 2020, over the pandemic, when everyone was home and bored and wanting to do house projects, we decided to cover up our backsplash that was also sponge painted ceramic tile with this beadboard. So my husband installed that, and then I painted it the Benjamin Moore Pure White to match all of our trim. We didn't replace our floor, we actually covered up the floor with this Mannington vinyl flooring. This is luxury vinyl that looks like slate, and it actually is really grouted. These are real grout lines that right before you came, I just grouted with my grout pen to make them look nice and clean again. And then we replaced the corian with this quartz that looks like marble, but it's much more sturdy, I guess, for kids and practical for kids. And as I mentioned, I love to cook. So we're always in here, especially my daughter and I, making recipes, old family recipes. We're always cooking, and this is really the heart of our home. We're always in here. I love these large windows over our kitchen sink. I didn't want anything to block them or block the light, so I had these old curtains that I just hemmed to fit this exact size window. So every morning, one of my favorite things is to come in and brew my coffee, and then I open up the curtains like Belle from Beauty and the Beast to start my day. It sounds cheesy, but it's one of those little things that I love. It just kind of, it just brightens up the whole space, and I love that we still get all this natural light during the day without having anything heavy or blinds on the windows. This is our breakfast nook, and when we moved in, as I mentioned, it was dark sponge painted. I think it was like a maroon brown with coffee and wine stencils, very 90s and great at that time, but I just wanted to make the room feel a little bit more classic and timeless. So we brought the slate flooring into here and painted everything this neutral, natural choice, and I hung up these little cafe curtains, linen curtains with the black rods, and found this little table, pedestal table on Facebook Marketplace. Painted it black, and then put these little chairs around it. We can't all sit in here, but if it's just one or two of my kids, maybe having a snack after school, or my daughter uses this a lot for her crafts. This is her craft cabinet, so it's just nice that she can bring her crafts over here. And I've painted and repainted this about 100 times, but it's just a great workhorse for our family. Something that I've added in the last couple of years is this basket rod. I love baskets. I love, love, love baskets. I love anything woven, as you can see. So over the years, I've collected baskets. Some of them are from my grandparents and my parents. And my husband found, this is like an old flagpole that I stained, and then we hung with these brass mounting brackets, and then I found these brass hooks online, and now I hang our baskets up there, which is super convenient when we want to put a basket of chips out or fruit, or go to the garden and collect some of our veggies. They exit to our backyard, but it's also our tiny little mudroom right off of the breakfast nook. So in here, these cabinets hold all of my kids' jackets and backpacks and shoes. This one holds all of my husband's grill supplies, and then there's a small cabinet for our coats and our shoes as well. And then there's a small powder room off of the mudroom, and then our back door that takes you out to our deck. I think my style is really traditional. I love symmetry. I love, old textures and fabrics like leather, something that's timeless. I love houndstooth. I love, classic things. I love brass. I love black. And you'll see that throughout the house. I use a lot of black for grounding, but really it's very collected. I'm a thrifter, so I love to shop secondhand. I love antiques, and I especially love thrifting antiques. So as we walk around today, you'll see it's very collected and it's very intentional. And so when we moved here, I knew that I didn't want to just fill this house with stuff and big box store things, rooms of furniture. I wanted to collect and build layers in this house over time. Okay, so here we are on the front porch. We spend a ton of time out here, 3 seasons actually. This is the plaque I was telling you about. Our house is named the Rebecca Busby House. The Busby family built this house back in 1873. So our historical society gifts a plaque for all of the old homes here in our town. So we're not exactly sure when this porch was added on. We think maybe 75 to 100 years ago. And at that time that this porch was added and the side porch, they put in these beautiful columns. And I just feel like it looks so stately when you pull up and see this big front porch. But we spend so much time out here. We entertain, we have family and friends come up. We have a farmer's market every Thursday in the summer. So we love to sit out here and listen to the music, watch people go by, often invite them up to have a drink with us or just to catch up. In the summertime, we have these limelight hydrangeas that get massive. They're actually really big this year, I think with all the rain, but they're just about to pop. Next week they'll probably be open. They provide us so much privacy in the summer, so when I come out here in the morning and have my coffee, I can stay in my PJs and no one really can see us, which is great. But then over time they'll kind of dry and fall a little bit and turn brown in the winter, so I cut them all and then bring them in to use in the house. So out here I have a lot of different wicker that I've collected over the years, probably a mix of 3 different sets. Nothing is an exact set, but it all kind of just works together. We always hang ferns. I just love how they sway in the breeze. And I have these urns here by the front door. These were left here from previous owner and they're really heavy wrought iron. And I'm actually so grateful that they left them because they're just so beautiful. I think we have quite a few. I think we have about 6 or 7 of these urns. So I fill them in the summer with ferns and impatiens that love shade when up here on the porch. But then at Christmas time, I'll also fill them with greens and holly and berries and some birchwood and put garland around the door. So they kind of just flank the doorway and they look really pretty. This is the shady side of the porch. We like to joke when it's really hot, we sit on this side. The other side is kind of sunny, so we have matchstick blinds to kind of filter the light. But again, more ferns, palms. I just kind of want it to look like an outside living room. And so every year I just try to add more plants, more wicker, and then these rugs that kind of ground the space and make it feel like a real living space. So if we make our way down the front steps, you can see I have a few more of those wrought iron planters that I like to fill and change with the seasons. Right now they're filled with geraniums and more ferns, and they're loving all this humidity. My hair, not so much. These urns we've just added here, they were left here with the house, but they were kind of hidden in the backyard in shrubs. So my husband and my sons pulled them out this year, and now I kind of like how they're flanked on both sides of our stairs here. So it's just like a nice welcome when you walk up. So when we moved in, a lot of the landscaping was already here and established, and I'm so grateful for that. We have some really beautiful plants like these lilac bushes. We have 3 or 4 of those that produce the most beautiful fragrant blooms in the spring. The boxwoods were here. We just basically had to clean everything up and maintain it. And luckily my husband loves to landscape. He loves to mow the lawn. He loves to work outside with his hands. So he's really the one that maintains all of our gardens and keeps them looking as beautiful as they do. So if we take a walk down our driveway, we'll head to the side porch. And just as a little aside, this bird bath was from my grandparents' garden, and when they passed, my family offered it to us. So I love that we have a little piece of them outside as well. So here's our side porch, and you can actually access the porch right up the steps or from our family room. That back door was another way that we can access it. So this is just a little space that we've turned into a private little restaurant. Just kidding, but we did put out a small table and chairs so that we can enjoy meals out here together. Sometimes my husband and I will have a date night out here. We'll light some candles, you know, grab the kids some pizza, and then we'll come out here and have a nice dinner together. It's kind of tucked away and private, so it's just a nice place to come and catch up. Out here, I basically just have a Cecil jute rug. That's great for outdoors. It can get wet. Again, more hanging ferns. And then I just got this beautiful block print tablecloth from Pacific and Rose online, the blue and white. So of course I love it and had to bring some of that outside. Right now we have it set with the table and chairs, obviously, but when we have parties, we like to use this area for drinks or for food. So we'll kind of move the table aside or bring out additional tables and have everything set up because it's nice and shady and covered. So guests can just come up the steps and, you know, grab what they need and then head out into the backyard. Welcome to our entry. So as you can see, it's a very long and narrow space. So I've tried to make the most of it. When we moved in, there was wall-to-wall floral wallpaper. It was beautiful, just very busy. It was like a maroon and green floral. Actually saved a piece of it. One of these days I'm going to frame it and hang it up here. But we decided to have that taken down just to kind of open it up a little bit in here. So I added a mirror, and then in the summer I like to display my hat collection. Some of these hats are from places that we've traveled, and some I've just found secondhand. I love straw, rattan, anything woven. You'll see that as a common theme throughout the house. All the walls are plaster in our house, so if you have an old house, you know they are no fun to drill into. So what we came up with is I found these brass sconces secondhand, and then I found these battery operated candles online and just put little black brass shades on top. So they're battery operated, like I said, they're set on a remote, and I usually have these on at night just to kind of add a little bit of warmth to the hallway. One of my favorite parts about our entry is this little radiator moment I have here. Like I said, it's small and very narrow, but I tried to make the most of this space. So while thrifting one day a few years ago, I came upon this little marble shelf with this brass detail. I really didn't know what it was at first. It was covered with old DVDs, but after just kind of looking at it, and you know, trying to figure out what it was, I realized it was probably a shelf for a radiator. So I had nothing to measure. I had no idea how big this was, but I brought it home on a whim, and it fit. So it was meant to be. And then that helped me to create this little area here where we rest our keys, we put our mail. I have this little asparagus fern. Actually, I shouldn't say it's little because it's huge now. It loves it here, it loves the natural light, and it kind of has gotten wild and crazy. It's a little tricky to check your lipstick in there, but we use the big mirror now. But like I said, I try to change it up seasonally. Right now I just have, you know, some coral in here. Like I said, I'll change this out at Christmas time, and I'll put, you know, different things for each season. And then on the opposite side, I have a blue and white umbrella stand that I've filled with umbrellas, obviously, and some secondhand finds, some canes, and then I have this antique clock that I found that I thought looked really cute there. And then our stairwell here, I fell in love with this newel post, and just so beautiful. When we moved in, we had the steps painted tricorn black, and we left the risers white. And again, this was all covered in wallpaper. We had all of that removed and the plaster smoothed. And then I thought this would be a perfect spot to put all of our the photos of the kids. These are just some of my favorites through the years. I love black and white photography. Again, being a lifestyle photographer, I just love to capture those really authentic moments. My boys, you know, my husband was squirting them with the hose one summer when they were little. These are my other two. They were just fresh out of the bath with their wet heads cracking each other up. We spend a lot of time at the shore, so I have some pictures of my kids. That's usually when we're all together and the happiest, so as you make your way up, you'll see lots of beach pictures here as well. A few years back, we decided that those black painted steps were just a little bit too slippery for our girl Stella, our pup, so we did a little DIY stair runner here. We just used this jute cotton blend that's really easy to work with and nice and thin, and my husband and I, right before Christmas, decided on a whim one day just to staple it in. So this was an easy project, and she doesn't slip anymore on the steps, and the kids with socked feet are much safer too. So it was a great project, and I feel like it adds a lot of warmth to the hallway now. Oh, I love our porches. We live pretty much 3 seasons of the year. We spend out on our front porch, fall, spring and summer. That's my favorite part of our house, even though it's the outside. I love this room. We spend so much time in this room together as a family. I love that we're raising our kids here, and every little layer that we add to it tells our story. All right, on our way up to the attic, I just wanted to stop and show you our landing here. We have a couple of things that I love, some photographs. On this side, I have an old picture of my grandmother and her sister. This was taken the night before their wedding. So they lived in South Philadelphia, and one of their traditions, I don't know if it was a tradition for that area or for Italians getting married, but my grandfather is actually out of view, but he's down here on the street serenading my grandmother the night before their wedding. And so one day I was at my grandparents' house looking through their album, and I saw this picture. And although my grandmother was a stunning bride, and I loved her in her dress, and I loved all of those pictures, this picture stood out to me. The joy on her face, her smile, and just, I thought it was so romantic that he would serenade her, down below on the street the night before they got married. These curtains are a traditional iCat print, which I really love, and we have the woven shades are throughout our entire house. That was one of the first things that we did, was put in these woven shades for privacy, and so that's in every room pretty much. This is one of our wedding photos. We got married right before Christmas on December 6th, so this is one of my favorites that we have hanging here as well. All right, let's head up to the attic office. Welcome to our attic office. So last year, my husband and I renovated this space. This is actually up on the 4th floor of our house. My husband works from home, and so he needed his own little space tucked away from everyone else where he could take his calls and work. So this, we were told, was originally the servants' quarters of our house. And so this is where the staff would stay and sleep, and they actually had their own stairwell on the exterior of the house where they would leave and come and go throughout the day. So what we did was, this room was probably refinished maybe 50 years ago. There was a lot of wallpaper, layers of wallpaper with oil-based paint on the top. So it was kind of a mess. It was lime green when we moved in. So what we did was we tried to make the most of the wallpaper seams, and we used trim work to kind of hide the seams that we couldn't spackle or repair, because as I've mentioned, plaster is just so tricky to work with. Once you start chipping away, it just kind of disintegrates. So we just came up with this idea to kind of create this wainscoting type of look using trim work. So painted everything again, natural choice, and it really just brightened everything up. The desk is a secondhand find, of course. I found this beautiful wood desk for my husband. The chair I found just online, and the brass lamp is also secondhand. All the picture frames in here are secondhand. My husband, as I mentioned, is a drummer, so he has an electric drum set up here, which is a lot quieter than his other drum set. So sometimes while he's working, he'll just turn and play. But we also have some of his drum set over here and then his bongos on this side. This area behind you used to be the other part of the stairwell. So it was basically just like a sloped area that my kids use as a slide. And when we decided to refinish this, we didn't know what to do with this space. My husband had the idea of making built-ins to kind of utilize it, and also it gave him one flat solid wall, because as you can see, we don't really have any flat walls here. So that's what he did, and he used beadboard as a backing, and in here we just have more family photos, some of his books. These are antique trucks that were his great-grandparents, his great-grandfathers, I believe, and here's an old ship. That was his great-grandfather's. And some of his awards that he's received over the years. This is my husband's grandfather's from the Korean War. I believe this was his flashlight and his compass. So I just wanted to incorporate some of these special items in his office since he's up here all the time. And then to the left, we have this little alcove. Wasn't really sure what to do with it. It was kind of wasted space. So I decided to search Facebook Marketplace to see if I could find an old chair, and came across this beautiful old worn leather chair, and now it's the perfect little chair to put in this corner and just take a rest. Sometimes I'll come up here and sit with him and talk, and I found this antique table that fit nicely with it. Another secondhand find, this little copper piggy bank. And again, my battery light trick, I found these sconces that I loved online. So I cut all the cords, and they're not run by actual electric. They are the rechargeable light bulbs that are screwed in there. So again, by remote, they can be turned on and off, which is really convenient for extra lighting. The curtains I made, this was fabric that I found secondhand from Ballard that I love, the stripe. So I just had to hem those. They're hanging with ring clips and the little leather tie backs that kind of tie in with the leather chair and desk chair. And then this gallery wall has kind of evolved over time. I framed this old American flag, and this horseshoe was actually a horseshoe that my husband found in the hearth of our creepy, scary basement before we moved in. He was cleaning out the basement, and he actually sent me a text in the middle of the night. It was probably 1 o'clock in the morning. He was here by himself cleaning, and he sent me a text with the horseshoe in his hand. And he said, "It's meant to be. We're meant to be in this house. I just found this horseshoe in the hearth of our basement." So I have it hanging because I just feel like it was a sign that we had made the right move. And it just kind of reminds me of my grandfather as well, who also loved horses. This horse was the Derby winner right at the same time that our house was built. So I hung that here. I thought that was kind of cool. And again, I just bringing into the nautical theme. You know, we have the diver down flag that my husband found, and just another beach scene. Found this brass plaque that says captain. So we joke that he's the captain up here. And then there was a light here that was just so awkward and hard to find, you know, a light that wasn't protruding off the wall because it's on an angle. So I actually decided to use a sauna light, and found that online, and that's worked great for when we come up the steps, and we can just flip the light on and it's not in the way. Started out as a first grade teacher back in 2001, and I taught first grade for 11 years. And then after I had our third child, I had 3 kids under 5. So I thought that was a good time to take a little break from teaching. That little break actually became a 7.5-year break, which was amazing. And we're so grateful because I was able to stay home with our kids at really pivotal years. And during that time, I actually started a part-time photography business. So I was a lifestyle photographer. during that time. I've kind of shied away from that in the past few years because I actually went back to teaching recently. So now I'm a reading teacher and I get to focus on teaching what I absolutely love, which is reading, and for the little guys, K to 2. But I also am a hobbyist photographer still, and instead of photographing families, I've pretty much photographed our home for the last 8 years, 9 years that we've lived here. And so I have an Instagram that I've been growing slowly or very organically. It's called Cherry Street Blossoms, and I named it after our street, Cherry Street, and just a fun little play on words there because I feel like we're kind of, working on this house and really breathing new life into it and helping it blossom and grow with our family. Okay, here we are in the backyard. Right up the steps here, we have a deck off of the breakfast nook in the kitchen area. So we have a lot of our meals outside here together as a family. We love to grill. My husband loves to use his smoker and his grill. So we have those out right outside of our back door. This is where we sit and gather and have our meals. Over the years, we've added trees and landscaping so that we feel kind of closed off and private back here. We have more lilac bushes that fill with beautiful purple blossoms in the spring. And then this is actually a very mature crepe myrtle that in just a few weeks will be filled with big pink blossoms. It's really beautiful. So out here on the deck, I have pots of herbs and these topiaries that hopefully will begin to climb with these beautiful flowers. And I will take you out to our backyard where our garden is. So heading into the backyard, on the left here, when we moved in, there was absolutely nothing. It was just a picket fence. So over the years, we planted shrubs and trees to kind of give us some more privacy. This is one of our favorite trees, this weeping willow that has just kind of gone crazy this summer, but we love it out here. Over to the right, we have our fire pit area that we created during around 2020 during the pandemic when we were just spending some more time outside together as a family. So my husband and I kind of created this little space with pea gravel and Adirondack chairs and this copper fire pit. This wrought iron bench, I don't know if you can see it tucked back in the lilacs, that was here. It wasn't actually in that spot. We had some friends help us move it there because it weighs about 900 pounds, but we've actually used that as part of the seating in our fire pit area. So we come out here as a family, especially in the fall and the winter. We have fires, we make s'mores, and it's just another little gathering spot for our kids. And then back here, we have a small garden. I actually just got some ripe tomatoes, so I picked some grape tomatoes, and this is our first year actually having success with cucumbers. So I've picked some veggies before you came over. My kids, my daughter especially, loves to help me grow veggies. And then off in the back here, we have our carriage house, which is converted to a 2-car garage now with an attached potting shed. And right above our garage is a hayloft. So as we were putting in the landscaping back here and digging holes for different trees and shrubs, one day my husband was digging and found another horseshoe from the hayloft. So we have that saved. Sometimes I'll put it out on the coffee table, but just another little artifact that we thought was really cool. Probably 100 years old at least, from this carriage house and this hayloft area. Home to me is a memory box. It's, of course, all of the stuff that you've collected over the years, your mementos from vacations and travel and photographs, all of that. But home is also the smells of your family, sharing a meal together. I love to cook, so I hope that my kids remember the smells of their favorite meals. Sounds, we're always playing music in our house, and I think that soundtrack builds over the years. And again, I hope my kids, take that and hold those memories as the remembrance of home. All of those layers together, even the light. Being a photographer, I'm always paying attention to the light, and I feel like those, the way the sun streams in the house in the morning, or while we're eating a meal together at night, I feel like those all come together to give the home a soul, to make it just be a place of connection and love, and yeah, I think that's it. Okay, Homeworthy, looks like my kids are home. We better get out of here. Thanks so much for coming by. See you later.
Hi, Homeworthy. My name's Crystal. Welcome to my house in Chicago. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Crystal Blackshaw. I'm an interior designer here in Chicago, Illinois. We've been here for 7 years. We started our house hunt in 1998 when my kids were transitioning into grade school and middle school, so it was a good time for us to find a new home in a school district that we wanted to be in. So we started looking in Lincoln Park. We really liked that school district, but it was a pretty hard search. The inventory wasn't really that great. So we've been looking for about 6 months, and we came across this MLS listing and decided to go look at it. It actually was not in the district of the school that we wanted to be in, but we wanted to just kind of check it out anyway. It looked really intriguing, and we loved it as soon as we walked through the house. It was absolutely disgusting, and that's exactly the kind of house that I gravitate towards, so that I can renovate and put my own twist and design into the home. So it was everything I was looking for. It had the space that I wanted. I loved the location. It had the bones of an 1880 Victorian home in Chicago. So I love the history that it had. It's in a historical neighborhood. And so I was a little sad when we were leaving that, we just needed to really be in that school district. So when we were leaving out the door, the listing agent started to chat with us and told us that it had actually been grandfathered in years and years ago into the school district. So we were excited that we might possibly be able to buy the house. It was still out of our budget, even in the condition that it was in. But we put in an offer and it was sadly declined. So we just kind of thought maybe it wasn't meant to be. We would buy a condo somewhere, something smaller, and we continued our search. And then about 2 months later, we noticed that it was still on the market. So we went back to the agents and said, okay, we don't have an agent. If you reduce, this is as much as we can, pay for the house. If you reduce your earnings as well, then we might be able to, make a deal and make this happen. And everything, the stars aligned, it all worked out, and we got the house. And then we moved in pretty quickly. We gutted the entire house. We lived on the very top floor, and we just worked for the next 7 years, room by room, renovating every square inch of the entire place. So this is the living room. It joins the entryway and the dining room. So it's kind of the first room you see when you walk into the space. And it's a start to what you're gonna see throughout the house. It's definitely pattern on pattern. There's color, there's texture. It's a more is more kind of design. I started with the Murano chandelier. I like that it hangs extra low over the coffee table so that it brings a sense of scale to the living room space. And then I just kind of build up all the accessories over the coffee table. I got this coffee table on Cherish at our other house, and it worked really well with the square layout here. We can fit, I don't know, like 10 at least people, and usually people are sitting on the floor and on the ottomans, so we can fit a lot of people in this, I'd say, a rather small living space. And then we did renovate the entire fireplace area. We got it to turn into a gas fireplace. It was coal burning. So we had a lot of candles and gas lines from back in 1880. I think the house was renovated in 1940, and then it wasn't touched since then. So we had the flue all completely done. We carried the marble all the way to the ceiling, so it had that a little bit of that contemporary feel mixed in with the Victorian stained glass. So I like that mix, you know, of the modern and the antique together. I found this planter from an outdoor garden shop. It's massive, it's heavy. We had to have like 5 guys bring it in. And I don't get a lot of good light because we only get light through the east and the west windows because it's a townhouse. We don't have windows on both sides. So anywhere there's a window, there's probably a plant next to it because I adore plants. I have a green thumb, but if you just don't have good light, then what are you gonna do? So if this dies, I just go to Home Depot and get another one. And also another trick is always cover the soil on your plants, whether it's moss or this like faux green stuff. It looks so much better if you just, you know, don't see the soil or the pot that it's in. We have all the moss. This is a Global Views marble table that was a dining table in our last apartment, and it works here as a side table. I love all the, you know, different size. It's a composition, really. You know, we have the big, the small, the skinny, the tall, and then we backed it with some modern pop art that I got off Cherish and framed. So you have that, the color and the monochromatic together, which I think is nice. So everything kind of sings on its own. The carpet I had done, which I think is becoming more popular, is taking carpet and then binding it to the size and the shape of the room. So we had this angle here with the fireplace and a very like linear, narrow space. So I couldn't find a rug that felt right without walking half on, half off the rug. So I just had the carpet bound to the size of the space I needed. Found this off Cherish, this like Empire. And again, because it's so narrow, I needed a very specific sized piece. And so I found this and then just had it recovered in a fancy velvet pattern. I love the, you know, the old with a really like super unexpected new contemporary fabric. This is a Kagan chair that I had recovered in like this boucle fabric. I found that, I think, on Facebook Marketplace. And I have an upholsterer, so I get almost everything, I get it reupholstered. So I find it, you know, cheap somewhere, and then I find the perfect fabric, and then I have my upholsterer come over, pick it up, deliver it back, and voila. Same with the couch. This is a Jason Home and Garden couch, and I've actually reupholstered it 3 times already. My family jokes because I usually don't have couches for longer than a year or 2, and then I get new ones. This one I've had a little longer only because I've reupholstered it. So it's appeasing my need for, I don't know, like change, I guess. This was a piece I found for sale on Facebook Marketplace again. And it's just a remnant of, that was the base. And then I found the top to match and had it like cut and polished. So it looks really high end, I think. The ceiling too. So the ceiling, you don't really notice it when you walk in, but because I don't have a lot of light in the house, that's another trick, is to do a really light color on the ceiling, and it just kind of warms up the space. Especially the pink is really good for your skin, as you know, as far as like seeing yourself in it in the room. So I did this really light powdery pink on the entire ceiling, and it kind of brightens up the space. And then obviously the inset mirrors in these picture molds, you know, make the space a lot bigger as well. It's a small but mighty space, but I did what I could to lighten it up and make it look larger than it is. So let's go next to the dining room. It's one big kind of space, and so it marries the two together with color. So yeah, let's go this way. So we're in my dining room. This is a space that we use every day for homework. My husband works from home now after COVID happened, and we eat dinner here, breakfast here, everything happens here. So this is really a hard workhorse of a space. I was trying to figure out like the layout of how I could have a large dining table, and this can accept 2 more leaves and seat. I mean, I've sat 20 people in this space with like an extension of a table, and then just got every single chair in the house to put around it. So I think the layout works. I needed storage because I do interior design. I have a ton of accessories. I love shopping. I pull from my inventory for client, projects, and then I just go out and buy more. So that helps my shopping addiction. I have these big cabinets built for all of my like little tchotchkes, and I pull them out for displays like this table. For client homes, I try to have a little bit of every color. A lot of my projects are very colorful, so hey, I got a blue room, I've got some blue things, I got a green room, I got teal, I got red, I got everything you need. So that's really fun to like go out and source for my my cabinet display here. Then we have on this side is my monochromatic wall. I had so many pieces and not a lot of surface area to put everything. So I had my carpenter build these huge shelves to house all of my mostly beige items, and then a lot of my design books here. And I have even more design books upstairs in the library. And then below is just a ton more storage for all of my dishes for photo shoots. And I mean, everything. I love being organized. Like built-in storage saves everybody's life, I think. I mean, I have everything all in its own separate drawer, and that makes me so happy. That makes my heart feel so good to be organized. And then we have the dining table. I had these chairs I bought at an antique store, and then I had them reupholstered all in a different color, and then a contrast silk stripe on the back, Brunswick and Fee. And they're very like durable on the front, so the kids can, my youngest is 11, and her friends, they're not the cleanest, so this stuff just wipes right up. And the table has a nice durable finish on it, so it's good to go. My stylist and I kind of set this up for a little spring photo shoot tomorrow, and I wish I could just walk down every morning and have this here to look at, because isn't this gorgeous? It's like an abundance of spring. It makes me so happy. I love all this pattern and color. This little tablecloth here, my family live in San Miguel, and they have a store. They make these in San Miguel. So I love getting all of this stuff from all over the world and incorporating that into my designs too. And these are Pookie lights, these little lamp guys. So they're cordless. I love them. I've been using them a lot lately. So you just kind of turn them on with a little remote, and you have like instant table, bringing that light down, to the surface. So we have the Murano guy here, the lamps here. We have a little picture light up here. I still need a piece of art here. So the house is never done. I think there will always be things that I want to change and do, but that's not a bad thing. So next, let's go to the kitchen. All right, so now we're in my kitchen. This was one of the last rooms that I just finished. I worked with GE and Cafe Appliances, and we did the kitchen. The reason that it took so long is because I really needed a space. It's a small space, so I really needed a space plan where exactly everything was going to live. I needed storage. I mean, you just need the work zone. You need storage. It needs to be beautiful. I wanted things centered. It took a lot of painter's tape to really lay out the space. And I came down here at many, many nights over a glass of wine, just staring and figuring out how to make this all work. But I think we did good. The sink was over here. I moved it to the center of the window here so that I could do dishes and look out into the back garden area. I did everything in unlacquered brass, this huge unlacquered brass sink. I love this. I love plants, so we have our east-facing window here, and I just filled it with everything. And then I can easily just like water, and it's just easy to do. I have this work prep area. I splurged on this beautiful marble slab, and I did the full height backsplash in it. And then I had my cabinet maker, John, do all of my cabinets, and I love the color, and it's gonna patina over time as well. It will start getting warmer and warmer and richer over the years. So it's almost like a living finish, of the wood. It's walnut and marl wood, I think is the inset. I think that's what it's called, marl wood. I did the ladder rail so that I can utilize the vertical space. I just have a lot of items up top that I don't use very often. A lot of larger platters and mixers, things like that. And then I did a little tea and coffee station here. My oldest loves to make, her special coffee drinks. So this is her little area here, and then I can just kind of hide it away. And then this is a hot water tap, and then we can do our tea. I love the integrated sink here. And then we got the built-in microwave with all the storage underneath. But my favorite little part of the kitchen is my pantry. So behind all of these doors, I took everything out of their packages and I put them in these clear containers and labels. And now everything's pretty and organized. I can see what I have. It's only about 10 inches deep, and that's all you need. Just like 2 rows of things, and isn't that nice? Love it. And then I have more of my accessories here, my gold, my silver, my pottery, radiator cover grills, and it looks right out onto the back patio with all the flowers, and it's a happy space. I like this space a lot. The floors is called American Restoration Tile, and I did this design. I picked out the design, the color, the layout, and my contractor and I painstakingly figured out the dimensions, how to run the border, and yeah, that was another late night or two trying to figure out the floor. But I love it. It's like a restaurant tile or a bathroom tile floor, so it's super durable. You're not supposed to wash it. If you wash it, you're supposed to wash it with sand and like laundry detergent, and then like with a big scrub brush. So it's like you don't have to mop it like every single day like I did my old floor. So it's super duper durable. I love the floor, yeah. And that's the only splash of color I have in here. It's bringing in that like Chicago antique-ness, if you so will say, but it's still contemporary and modern. I have always loved interior design ever since I was a little girl. I didn't know that it could be a career. My husband, back when we were dating in 1999, thought that I should go into interior design school, and I didn't even know that they had classes for interior design back then. So I enrolled in interior design school and I got my degree, and then he was transferred to Chicago. This was back in Oregon where I grew up, and we moved to Chicago about 4 years later, and I jumped right into running my own business. And I started getting clients off Craigslist, Angie's List. I really hustled and built my brand all the way from, I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, but I think that really enriched, who I am today. I've had a really successful career ever since, and I would never look back. It's exactly what I want to do and what I was meant to do. So this is the small but mighty powder bathroom. I went with a more is more theme in this space. We did flip some of the plumbing. We sectioned off this wall because it was at a diagonal. So when you were going to the bathroom, you were pointed towards the wall. So we straightened it out and kind of flipped the sink from here to here. I got this from Morocco, and I like that it doesn't have a base, so that it feels a little bit more spacious in here. I did a marble with brass inlaid floor, a little bit of luxe because it's powder bath, and that's how it should be. And then the elephant in the room, or the bird in the room, is hundreds of Mexican antique feather art. So they are all done in Mexico, and they take bird feathers that they find and they create these little bird pictures with. And most of them are probably from like the 60s to the 70s. And I've been collecting them for a couple years now. I like, some of them come with black backgrounds, but I like the ones with the beige backgrounds. And most of them come already framed in antique frames. So they have like built-in history and character to them. So they're not like brand new, you know, bright frames. I think I counted last time at 104, and they come like behind the door and up the ceiling and around and everywhere. So people like this bathroom when they come in. It's like a fun space. And then you can't find a spot in the house that doesn't have a pedestal. I think pedestals or columns you could fit them in anywhere. So we just have our soap here, and you tuck them right in, little plant, and then the stained glass is all original. Any stained glass in the house is original. So I kept that, and that was actually the jumping off point for the colors in this room. So the rose, you know, colors, and then just brought the flowers into the wallpaper here. Yeah, I like it. So we're in my youngest daughter's room. She's 11, and we just redid this room for her birthday. We used to have little monkeys all over the wall, and she outgrew those. So this, I told her that we would redo the room, but it would eventually be a guest bedroom. So we had it a little bit more sophisticated than probably she would have wanted, but she'll transition into her older sister's room. So for now, it's her room. It will be a guest bedroom. We added all of the molding and the crown and the architectural detail. And then I did this Tebow grass cloth above the chair rail just to kind of give it some warmth. And then we added some visual comfort sconces that look like little pagodas. So I kind of went with a little Asian theme, but it's a little mix of everything. Another tip is if you get a less expensive bed, like from Amazon or Wayfair or whatever, and then reupholster in like a fabric that you like, you get a really designer look, but for, you know, half the cost. So I did that with that headboard. And this little bench here I made and designed. Tassels and, you know, fun printed fabric. And then we did a Missoni again with the carpet that you bound to the shape of the room. I did that with this Missoni carpet. So you have that like colorful base. And then it's a little bit more, because I spread the same color around the room, it doesn't feel like overpowering, in my opinion. I found this chandelier on like Craigslist a long time ago, and they had, I think the owner popcorned the ceiling, and they just went over the light fixture as well, and it had this like awful texture to it. So I took it into a place called Mecmain, and they stripped it and painted it in this like Farrow and Ball Babouche color, and then I added some fun sconces to it. It overlooks the garden, so she's got some flower boxes here, and she can oversee the back garden area. And then she's got her little makeup area here. So John built the dresser and this little makeup desk area just a few weeks ago, actually. And so it houses all of her stuff. Kids have a lot of stuff nowadays, so trying to find places for it all to go and not like out. I've been training them, but we're working through that. It's hard to keep things organized with kids, but they do a good job. But this room, yeah, it's a happy room. I think she likes it a lot. And then one of her big asks was a TV. So we do have the framed TV for her. So I can hear YouTube. Sometimes when she puts on YouTube, Homeworthy pops up because I watch it so often. She's like, Mom, the algorithm is all yours. So yeah, she's really happy with her room. It works out. All right, let's go see my other daughter's room. I like that there's space for everybody in the house. For my two girls, my husband, myself, all the pets. We have our own zones that we can go to. We all feel comfortable. Every inch of this house is used. So I like the location. It has a little bit of a backyard and a front yard, so I can, you know, do my gardening. It has a little bit of everything, and not in an abundant way that it's, you know, takes too much away from our lives and being happy, just being together, and, you know, it's manageable. All right, So this is my oldest daughter's room. She's 16. This room, she's really lucky, I think, to have a room this size and this beautiful. I didn't have a room like this when I was 16. I wanted to make it special for her. I want her to return back to me when she goes to college. So I want her to like want to be in this room. So I did a silk wallpaper on all the walls, and actually you'll notice some areas that the cats used it as a cat scratch pad, and you'll see some of, I try to hide, oh, I'm so mad at them, but what are you gonna do? Anyway, so it's still beautiful. This is the original fireplace, and I redid the stone surround in a viola marble. This is non-working. The flue was too small, so it looks like it's a pretty accent piece to the room, I think. And the mantle is all original as well. I think it's just a really nice addition that came with the house. We have her desk area here that she does all of her homework at. Again, with the frame TV for her. You know, they appease me. Like, they let me do as I wish. And I put this huge column in here. I found it in Wisconsin, and I had my guys go out and get it and bring it. I didn't know it was this big, but I'm not mad about it. I think it looks pretty cool. And it kind of hides the AC unit up top. So we just put this like faux, there's not a lot of light in here. So we just did a faux little topper fern up top. And then she has her little mirror here that I painted gold and white. Found this just at like a junk shop, and it was like really ugly brown. And then I repainted it in this color. Sprinkled around some, you know, architectural looking chairs that are definitely not comfortable. I don't think you'd want to sit in this chair here. I found this chair for like $10 and it, you know, stuck my plant in it. Why not? And then I found these like cute little birds here at an antique shop, a big box of them for not very much money. I put during Christmas, little Santa hats on their heads. So it's a little, you know, flying bird with Santa hats. It's really funny. Reupholstered this bed. Again, another cheaper bed, and then just added a nice boucle fabric onto it. Same with the little settee. That's like a CB2 settee. And then I just reupholstered it in a cravat fabric. So, you know, the whole vibe is, you know, works with the room. The fish tank so this is the larger of the two fish tanks. And I just I come in here with my coffee and feed them and just watch them. I think it's like the best. I get so much gratification just watching fish all day if I had the time to do that. And then we did flower boxes on each side of the window, so we just still feel like you're a part, you know, with the magnolia tree outside, bringing that indoors, the greenery indoors, I think is really important. So bringing that like life into a room, I think feels good. You know, sometimes you don't know why a room feels good, but a lot of the time it's having like the scent and the sound and, you know, the look of like real things growing. I think that like that feng shui helps a lot with how a room feels when you like live in it. But let's go see their bathroom that we renovated a year ago. So it's the girls' pink bathroom. All right, so this bathroom was actually the smallest room in the house as far as height. The floor, you had to step up into it about 16 inches. And then the ceiling was dropped down even shorter than what the door is right now. So we were able to gut everything and find space above and below. And now it's actually the tallest room in the entire house. I did a mosaic floor, marble floor that reminded me kind of like Roman baths. So it's a really teeny tiny little mosaic floor. And then I did a beautiful pink marble in their shower with a marble column, because why not? And it turned out really nice, I think. It feels nice when you're in here. We did all of the unlacquered brass and then another Murano chandelier. We did a pink vinyl wallpaper above the beadboard and then onto the ceiling. So vinyl is really good for bathrooms. So the humidity doesn't, you know, heat up the glue and make it tear. So then we also added the stained glass to this window. I designed all the colors and the layout of it, and it just like lets in really pretty light, but also it looks kind of into my office, so you still have that privacy as well. I had the mirror and the sconces made out of Florida. This lady does all of this seashell work, and I love all of the detail and all of the shells. I think it's really pretty, you know, the color and all of the little pieces. I think she did a great job. And then I also did match the vanity. So the vanity came as it is, but then I matched it to a armoire type piece for all of their lotions and potions. And it really is floor to ceiling, and it houses all of their stuff. I mean, the amount of stuff girls have, I mean, it's just like chocked full of stuff. And so I can just hide it away, and it's not out on the countertops. And niches too. I think every shower should have as many niches as you can fit into them that you can reach, because they do get filled up, and then they're not on the floor. They're not in ugly, you know, shelves or baskets inside the shower. I think niches are really a useful addition to a bathroom. So let's go see my office next. It's just right around the corner. So here is where all the magic happens. This is my office. This was a guest bedroom. We took out a closet so I can make it as large as possible. I work from home, so I have a lot of samples, a lot of binders and books and materials that I needed to house in this small space. So I needed to definitely space plan. Once again, John, he put together all of the cabinetry so it houses everything's color coordinated. There's all of my wallpapers by color. We have our library in here as well. So all of our books, all of my design books, all of my fabric samples, wallpaper sample, everything is in here. And then I sit at my computer. I have a nice big open desk area, and I outfitted the room in this like Philip Jeffries fabric wallpaper. And then I did a contrast print on the ceiling with a Murano light. And it just feels good when I'm in here. I feel like comfortable, you know, and that's what you want when you're spending hours and hours at the desk doing work, is you want to feel comfortable and cozy. So it's exactly how I want it. I keep it nice and tidy, and yeah, I think it works for me. All right, so let's go see the upstairs next. This is the top level. This is the primary level. This is where we have our primary suite with the bathroom and a little wet bar, access to the roof deck. And I want to point out definitely these plaster trees here. I had a couple of my artist friends design and do these a couple years ago, and it feels like you're just coming up into, you know, the tree canopy. So this is the 4th floor in the house. So it does feel like you're going into like another like area of the home. I did everything in a bright white. It's a very monochromatic neutral color palette here. So this is east facing light. So it gets beautiful sunrises. I love to get a cup of coffee and come out to the porch here and just drink my coffee and check my emails and kind of like relax and zone out for a little bit in the morning. And then in the bedroom, you get beautiful sunsets. So you get that beautiful red glow coming through the bedroom windows. This is all original banister work here. And then we just did the floors and the carpet and all of the moldings brand new. We did a lucite handrail throughout the house actually. So it's nice and consistent. I love the modern touch that brings. And then we have our primary bath here just off the hallway. All right, here we are in the primary bathroom. I think this is a fan favorite for rooms. It's a beautiful space. So we took the smaller room, the closets, and the bathroom and made it one larger space. I did this large glass enclosure. It has lots of niches, a bench, and all of the glass, so you can kind of see through it, everything, and it felt even more spacious. And then we did a freestanding tub here with a little like mantle moment for all of my tchotchkes. And then it overlooks the window here out into the trees and beyond. So this is a really nice, like calming Zen space here. I really like it a lot. And then it has, you know, a little area for the toilet. And then I took this vanity. This was our media cabinet at our old house. And then I turned it into our bath vanity. And I did a little vessel sink on top and then did a marine varnish on the top. So it's waterproof and it houses everything. I love this piece. And I'm tall. So this piece is extra tall. So it's like perfect for my height. And then I had this made in India, this little like capiche shell mirror. And then we backed it with this like tile here and did a ombre subway tile in these earth tones up the wall. And then a Philip Jeffries silk wallpaper above it. So it's very, very luxurious. I like coming in here in the morning and getting ready. It's a nice space. And then we have the his and hers lotion and potion area. So anything we need, we just have it out on the countertops. And, you know, we have all these little glass jars. Anything I could take out of a package and put into like a prettier thing, I do. But, you know, some things you can't, but it is what it is. This area here, I had these flown in from India. And this is all of our like linen closet stuff. So we have these huge doors with all their like big nails. I love how raw this is in comparison to like all the sleek glass and tile and other parts of the bathroom. This kind of thing, like, I think is what makes the space like, you know, extra, you know, elevated. And then this whole palette kind of goes into the primary bedroom here. So let me show you that. All right, before we go to the bedroom, I have this little wet bar area here, and this is exactly where I come to start my day. I make and end my day. I make my coffee here in the morning and then go out to the front porch. And then in the evening, I make my sleepy time tea and, you know, go to bed. And then if we need any drinks or anything, we have our refrigerator here and our, you know, water source here. So the kitchen's 2 floors down. So if you need to, you know, a bottle of water or glass of wine or anything to go enjoy out on the porch, it's nice and handy to have, you know, something like this here. I love this stone. We had this little cutout made, and I found these and had them restored, these little lion sconces. And then I have a ton of pottery. I love pottery that is signed on the bottom and very like rustic and handmade. So I'm constantly looking and sourcing vintage pottery and bowls and things like that for my house and other people's homes too. I love the amber glass. I think it's, you know, that 70s amber glass that your grandma probably had. I think it's very chic. I think it's all about context. So I think anything can look good in the right context. So I love that brown amber color palette for this space. And then I brought that color palette into the bedroom. So I kind of brought that color palette and the pottery into this area over here. Some larger pieces on this Jason Home wood console that's very shallow, so they still have space, you know, to walk around and, you know, you're not bumping into things. I had been collecting on my travels a lot of like masks or things of multiples that I can like frame and put together. These ones I got in Zanzibar in Africa, and these ones I got in San Miguel, Mexico. And these bells I got, these are goat bells. I was out traveling in the middle of nowhere. I was probably 3 hours outside of any city. And then all of a sudden I came across this gorgeous antique store that was like, it was just had the most amazing things inside of it. I'm like, I mean, the antique gods were shining down on me, and I had to buy something. So I bought goat bills because that's what I could fit in my suitcase. So I found those in Tunisia. We were just there a couple months ago. And then I have a lot of these like African head hats, you know, just really unique things that I just kind of pick up, and they remind me of my travels. We're big travelers. These two, they look like armoires. They're built-ins. We have these like dormers that angle into the room. And I needed storage. I needed like dresser space. So John built these huge cabinets that house all of our things, and then we have a his and hers. So this is really useful, and we needed space for side tables. So I built these little insets into the sides with outlets for our phones and, multi-use phone jack. So we have these really useful little insets instead of side tables. So, and then this big guy here, this is a TV lift. So, at the push of a button, the huge TV comes up and we feel like we're in a movie theater, and then it just goes right back down and, looks like a console at the foot of the bed. And then we did, obviously, the Murano light fixtures again on the sconces and the ceiling light. A lot of the hardware in the house is either unlacquered brass or lucite. Lux Hold Ups does all of the handrails and towel holders and handles. And then all of the hardware throughout the house is House of Antique hardware with the glass knobs, even the hinges. I love the hinges that, even they are beautiful. I think hinges, like the hardware, the things you touch, I think should be quality and beautiful, not just, basic. I think go the extra mile for that. The wall treatment, I had my artist girl, Jenna, she it's a water-based paint that she waters down, and then she applies layer after layer to get this kind of two-tone of all these like geometrics on the wall. So you can only have so much wallpaper. So I had her do this like paint technique, which I think is subtle, and it's, just the right amount of interest. This area right here, during COVID, my husband started working from home, and so I made him this little like desk area. I found this little mid-century modern desk, and the top of it pulls down or out, and so he puts his laptop there. I bought him the most comfortable chair I could find, and then I just reupholstered it, so he's happy, I'm happy. And so he'll sit here if he's not at the dining table working. And like if I need my space, I don't want to hear his conference calls, I'll send him up here, and this is where he works. And I found this really cute Chicago skyline 70s painting, I think off Etsy, and it was like super cheap. And I love the color palette together, and I love the content of the art. But yeah, it's a nice bedroom. It's just big enough for the two of us, somewhere that we can retire at night and relax. All right, so let's go look at the deck outside the primary level. So we actually just finished this about a week ago. I've been wanting this done since we moved in. This outdoor space is, everybody needs an outdoor space, and it's hard to get in Chicago. So I really love that you have the open sky above you. You can see the Willis Tower on this side. When the leaves are down, you can see all the churches that are around here. It's just very peaceful. We're at the very top canopy of the trees, so you see all the birds, and it's just a really lovely space to relax. We bought a big movie screen so we can all as a family come out and watch movie night, with our headphones, and I can have a little bit more of a sun garden up here. So these are all self-watering planter boxes, and then every year I can pick whatever color I want out, and they change every year, and it's low maintenance. It's been really nice. We have a nice big sectional here. It's from Crate and Barrel, and outdoor cushions and everything. So and the glass railing is nice, so you can see through everything. You don't feel like you're, smothered by walls. It just feels really open and spacious. So next year, our very final, I promise, project, I promised my husband, the very last project we'll do at the house is I want to build a staircase here and do a veggie garden at the very top. So that would be 5 floors from ground level, and that gets full sun, and I love gardening, and so that's my dream, to have my own little like rooftop garden. And it's a pretty big space. It's probably 20 feet by 60 feet. So I think we'll be able to do like a dining table and, you know, a lounge area and lots of vegetables. So I'm really excited for that. So maybe next year I'll have you back to take a look at that space. All right, here we are in my small but mighty back patio area. This was nothing. There was no fence, there was no ground, there was no staircase. It was just all dirt, and you could see out into the neighbors' areas. So this was from the ground up, all brand new. We went extra tall with the fence line so that we have privacy, because most of our neighbors' decks are raised up. So we kept our main level at ground level, and then I outfitted the whole space with flower boxes. So it's all container gardening back here. There's no dirt or grass or anything. So every year we come through, and it's usually a week around Mother's Day that we outfit all of the planter boxes, the whole area, with annuals. I always try to pick a different color palette each year. So this year's lavender and white with a little shot of red. I love these, and these like terracotta geraniums in these terracotta pots. The bees love them. They're fragrant. I think it's a nice little pop because right outside my kitchen window, this is what I see, and it just reminds me of Europe. This is a working water fountain, and then we have all of our little string lights. So in the evening, it's just very magical, you know, with the bees and the butterflies and the sound of the water and, you know, the twinkle of the lights. It feels a little European. So I have been enjoying this space quite a lot. And I think the family has too. It's more, you don't really kind of we have a barbecue that we bring out here. You don't really like lounge out here. It's more for me, almost therapeutic to come out here and garden. So it's my own little therapy zone. All right, here we are in the playroom, media room. This space was very unfinished. It was unfinished basement. It was just storage for a long time, but it was a lot of square footage that we could have really used. So we ended up digging down about 2 feet so that we had more headspace. It's hard to imagine. This is pretty low, but we had even lower, and we just had to soffit out any of the radiator pipes. So wherever it landed, and then I just wallpapered around it, and I think it is what it is. But it's a space that the kids are always down here with their friends. We have a big, huge, comfortable, you know, cloud couch, lots of pillows, so they can just kind of relax and plop into it. All of our family photos, a lot of the kids' art that they've been doing since they were babies, and all of their, you know, kids' books. This is their kind of library, their zone. So we have all of those there, and once they're too old for those, hopefully they'll go to their grandchildren, my grandchildren. I love fish tanks. I'm a fan of natural aquascape tanks. So I had this put in for me. We have a second one upstairs in my daughter's room, and I love it. They're like my little pets. They're like little fish dogs. And we did, all of the plants are real, and it's a freshwater tank. And then I have a guy come out every couple weeks to do a water change. But this is my guilty. I mean, it's like a boat. You just throw your money in a hole, but it's worth it to me. It's my guilty pleasure. I love it. And then we have, again, John's cabinetry did all of our storage for our games, and anything that the kids want to play with is kind of stored in these cabinets. We have Legos, all of our media equipment down here, the frame TV, and all the all the collectibles. When my youngest, ever since she was 2 years old, she'd always want these little characters. So friends and family, any holiday, birthday, that's what she would get. So we have a very extensive collection of all her little toys here, and I like the color of them. I think, you know, it's very monochromatic as far as blue and white, but then putting in the shots like books naturally are colorful, and, you know, art supplies is naturally colorful, and all of the toys. So I think that's the accessory, that's the color palette, you know, toys are what they are. And I think it should be colorful and playful. This was a remnant from the slab that we used for our laundry room. I had some left over, so I had a custom waterfall marble table made. I love it. And then we also have the game chair. They begged me for a game chair. I'm like a recliner. Like I don't need another chair in here, but I succumbed, and they have their comfy little game chair. This is their room, so this is all, everything that they need and wanted. That's what I designed for them. So this also leads into our guest bath, guest bedroom, and laundry room. Come take a look. I do entertain. I love to host for the holidays, and usually that's when I bring people together, or for Christmas and Thanksgiving and birthdays. I like to decorate and style. So it's always really fun to get balloons and flowers and just kind of decorate the whole house for a party. Most of my family is over on the West Coast, so we don't have a lot of family members here unless I fly them in, or we have a lot of friends that come over, but with busy schedules, it's hard to do, but we do every once in a while like to entertain. So this is the hallway. This was all one big, huge area. So I space planned and zoned off sections. So we got our store. We don't have a garage, so this is everything that I'd have in a garage is inside these cabinets. And we have a mechanical room, and then we have a full guest bath here, and then I guess little tiny Harry Potter guest bedroom here. So this is all organized with our cleaning supplies. I'm one of those people that have everything stocked. So I have 10 of everything, and everything's lined up, and yeah, I'm one of those people. And then it comes into our guest bath. So I wanted a 3-piece bath. So it has a shower and tub, sink, toilet, and this is actually one of the few stained glasses that I had made, because this was a glass block, and so I took that out and did this little colorful English style leaded glass window. And then I covered all the radiator water pipes that we couldn't move because they need a pitch to it. Had those all covered up with radiator covers. And then 3 days ago had this wallpaper put in, which I love. Very classical. I was in Paris a couple years ago and just drinking my coffee, waiting for things to open up. And on Facebook Marketplace found this and bought it while I was drinking coffee in Paris, because we needed a pedestal sink here. I was like, honey, can you go down and measure the guest bath sink area? Because I found this sink pedestal that I love, and it was $100. So that was so that memory is linked, to my trip to Paris. This lighting from Limehouse Lighting, they have very beautiful fixtures. So I did a lot of the Limehouse brass and lacquer brass lighting throughout. I think it's very timeless. And then we did the marble floor, marble walls, and I will continue to collect all of these little antique paintings everywhere and just start, keep going and start filling in the walls. I think it turned out pretty good. And it's nice and neutral. So a lot of the hallways in the house are white, and then you go into the spaces, the rooms, and they have all the color and the design and the pop. But I think that transition area between rooms, it's like a palette cleanser. So a lot of the hallways in the house are just white and classic and clean. But here across the hall is the guest bedroom, and you'll see what I mean. So this is the Harry Potter room. So when we have guests come over, or a lot of the kids' friends love it in here actually, because it's like a little den. It's a little snug. And I just went wild with the wallpaper color. We carried the same carpet from the hallway in here, and we fit a little twin bed in this little nook underneath the stairs. And it's just a really, you can really get good sleeps in here. It's quiet. It feels like all the noise is kind of suctioned out of here. So it's a really cute little area. I could have made this into a closet or a storage room, but I thought, hey, another bedroom. So right next door to this is the laundry room, and it continues with the same color palette too. All right, so here's the laundry room. It's also like a pantry, like a storage as well. We did a whole kitchenette area here. So we have this beautiful marble sink that I had made off Etsy. And then this is the stone countertop I was talking about that we had extra of to make the coffee table. And then we did more of the unlacquered brass with the limehouse sconces. And we have a little bit more of that stained glass I had made. Just to, I mean, wherever I could let in light, I went for it. So we had a little opening here, went with it with a little tiny light. We even did the glass door off the back to let in some light through that breezeway area. And then these, once again, John, we have snack drawers for the kids and all of these outside drawers. And then these drawers are actually refrigerators. So we have pork, chicken, seafood, beef, and all of these refrigerator drawers. So it's kind of like our, secondary kitchen area. And we actually built that and decided to do this after COVID just because we wanted all that like back stock. And then we have over here all of our like dry food pantry space. So this is all just back stock for dried pantry stuff and, extras of anything that couldn't fit in the kitchen. And then of course we have the laundry machine area with all of our built-ins. I think this is really nice, kind of finishes off, a laundry unit when you can like build cabinetry around it. And then all the Majolica I've been collecting the Majolica for about 5 years. Here's a lot of the plates, a lot of it's from England, and I love all the colors, and it's all handmade, and I think it's just beautiful, like little works of art. So I've been collecting. I mean, they just did amazing things. I mean, this isn't even like a terrain or anything. It's just sculpture. And it's just, I mean, that's so awesome that somebody put the effort to create this and, just for looks. I think that's important in a house to have things that look pretty, but also things that are functional. I think that's a good, balance to have. And I have all of my vintage glassware. I take a lot of these from, for photo shoots. So, I'll just pull things for photo shoots, and then, I have them for myself too. I don't really make tea in this little frog pot, but I could. And we have the cat and the dog food. So, yeah, it's a nice, useful, functional space. Okay, so this is my entry. It's a rather small entry. It was bigger when we moved in. This wall actually came out to about here, and it had a double entry like a lot of Victorian houses do. But it just seemed very constricting when we were coming in through two doors with backpacks and shoes and groceries. So I reduced the wall back. There's a lot of radiator pipes in this wall. So it worked that this kind of turned into a smaller entry and then kind of leads you through into this pass-through and then into the living and dining, like overall larger room. For about 6.5 years, I had this done about 2 weeks ago. So for about 6.5 years, we lived without an entry closet, and all of the shoes, coats, backpacks of the family and the friends and everybody would just land on this piece here. So finally, after designing this built-in, I had it done and I could not be happier. My cabinet builder did almost all of my millwork in the house, and he is a mastermind. This is all walnut. It matches the cabinetry in the kitchen. And then I actually did the unlacquered brass throughout the whole house too, so that it will patina over time. So it still has a sense of that 1880 feel, but it houses everything on the inside with hooks and storage up top. Still have the radiator grill at the bottom, a drawer for all the pets things. So this is a lifesaver. I'm so happy that this is finally in. We did, during COVID actually, in 2020, and we were in lockdown, I was artistically craving a project. I think a lot of designers probably were, and also wondering what I was going to do with my career if anything happened to it. Luckily, it was the opposite, and we flourished. But I decided to do this huge lime wash mural all the way up the stairs. So it's about 40 feet, and then from floor to ceiling. And I ordered all of the supplies off of Amazon. And you have to, I don't know if you've ever done lime wash or seen how it's done, but you have to do it all in one go so that it's continuously wet. And so I rocked this whole thing out during COVID. I really like how it turned out. And I was, debating if I wanted to paint it white with this set against it. And I decided just to leave it. So it's a little bit of my little artistic touch to this huge wall here. And then this was all drywall, and I added some picture molding and then did a mirror inset inside the molding. And I also did that in the living room. And that's just a designer trick to make the room and the space feel larger. And it's also a nice little, little look before you come and go. I had the door made custom out of South America, and I wanted it to look vintage, but I wanted the weatherproofing and the durability of a good quality door. So I opted to do a new door, but in like an old look. And then we did our address numbers, and the Murano chandelier was one of the first things I bought for the entire house. Was all of my light fixtures, was my gift to myself, I guess you could say. I knew I was going to be here for a really long time. So I outfitted the entire house with mostly Murano chandeliers throughout. And we did a marble floor. It's really durable. I don't mind if it gets nicked or cracked or, it just adds character, I think. So I like the idea of like authenticity of materials. So we have the mirror and the stone and the wood and the lime wash, and I think it works. I've been pretty happy with it. When I first renovated the house, I was in the mood for kind of a clean palette, that French, heavy architecture, all white, light wood floors, and then just like really interesting pops of color and furniture pieces, a little show housey. And I started out that way, but it just grew over time to what I naturally gravitate towards, which is mixing patterns and color and richness of fabrics and woods. And it just evolved into what I always go back to. I would say it's eclectic. I know that word's kind of used a lot, but it's definitely a mix of all eras and materials and vibes. Obviously, home is where our family lives and comes together, and they feel comfortable. If they ever went off to college or on a long trip, they always want to come back home. And I love that it's a safe zone for anybody that comes, friends, family. I think that's, what home is. It's just a safe haven. Thank you, Homeworthy, for coming by and checking out my house. It was nice to have you. See you next time.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Sarah. Welcome to our historic Sullivan's Island home.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Thank you to Serena and Lily for sponsoring today's episode.
Hi, I'm Sarah Heckler. I'm an interior designer, and we are here in Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. We've lived here on Sullivan's Island for about 7 years. We moved here from New York. I lived in New York City for about 17 years, and my husband was born and raised there. We had our daughter in New York, and when we were trying to raise a family, she was 2, my husband and I realized that New York probably wasn't going to be the best place for us to raise our family, have another child, and things like that. So we started looking around the country and we landed on Charleston. We love the history here in Charleston. We love the food scene, the architecture. It punched all the tickets for us, and we thought this could be a great option for us. So what drew us to this home was the historic nature. This house was built in 1894 by the Army. There's a series of houses on our block. There's 11 homes. They were all built by the Army in the late 1800s. I think a couple of them maybe in the early 1900s. And they're very, very similar. They all look similar, but yet slightly different. And they were built for the officers during the war. There was a active Army base here on Sullivan's Island. It was an open Army base. The fort was called Fort Moultrie, and its sister fort is Fort Sumter, which you may have heard of. So our house was part of this fort, and there was other houses called the Sergeant's Quarters, which are also on Sullivan's Island, and they're, I would say, probably the oldest houses on the island. And next door to us is actually apartments that was the bachelor's condos for the unmarried men. They would live there, and our house would host two families, two officers and their families. We looked primarily in downtown Charleston when we moved here. Our real estate agent took us touring downtown. We thought we had our sights set on downtown. We were city people. We thought we're gonna move from a big city like New York to a small city like Charleston. And it turns out that we saw this house on Zillow, and we kept asking our agent, we love this house, where's this house? It's in a town called Sullivan's Island. I've never heard of that before. So she told us that she would take us there, even though we weren't sure if we were beach community people. And we walked in and we knew this was it. We really did. We knew this was our house. We had to have it, and we negotiated on it and bought the house a few months later. Welcome to our foyer. There's a few things in here I wanted to talk about. One of my favorite things in the foyer is this credenza. I designed and had this built by a woodworker local here in Charleston. His name is Scott Mira. It has really easy slides here for the doors. And when you open up one of these doors, you see we have dovetail joinery and sliding drawers that pull out. This piece was designed by myself, but I was inspired by a designer named Jean Prouvé, who's a French architect and designer from the 1940s, where he primarily made furniture. I love his work. I always wanted one of his pieces. And unfortunately, the scale of furnishings from the 1940s wasn't as tall or grand as I had wanted to fit the foyer. So I thought, why not just build a piece to fit the scale of the house? This is much taller than a standard credenza. And one of the other elements is these doors are brass. So this is a blackened brass finish that was applied to the wood doors. Another thing you'll see on the credenza is this little stack of books, and one of these books is actually a book that was written by my mother-in-law, Audrey Heckler. She has a very large art collection of outsider art, and if you flip through, it's a complete book of all of her work, and she discusses all her pieces in there, which is pretty awesome. And another thing which I think is funny is my kids do Legos all the time, and I just love this little Lego vase that my daughter did to show off her little flowers here. We have this really incredible dome. It's a 19th century glass dome. A friend of mine, Dawn Nakamura, is an artist here on Sullivan's Island as well, and she builds these domes that encapsulate shells and butterflies. So this is one of her pieces, and we'll see another one of her pieces in another room of my house later on too. What I love most about our house is probably the high ceiling heights and the ceilings themselves. I can't wait for you guys to see that. The ceilings are incredible. There's so much detail in every single room of this house. The home itself has such grand presence with the high ceiling heights. The scale, the doorways, the sliding doors, which you'll see as well. There's a lot of history just in the bones of this house. If you take a look up the stairwell, you'll see my 3 floors of stairs and all the ceilings that go up. Every ceiling has details printed and stamped in tin. The story as it goes, or what I was told, is when the house was built in the late 1800s, the war began and the cannons would fire off and shake down the plaster moldings that they had originally put up in the house. So in order for that not to happen and the ceilings to crumble and fall, they opened up a tin shop on Sullivan's Island and hand pressed all the tin and used that as the ceilings for all of the officers' quarters. So our house has tin ceilings in every room of the old structure, and every ceiling has a different print and relief. We have a lot of black and white in the house, so the walls are primarily white on the first floor and second floor. We have a couple bits of color, but very subdued color, nothing bright or shocking, easy on the eye. I really like warm color, warm palette, and to make it feel inviting. The chair in the corner is an old antique office chair that was my husband's, and we just thought it looked cool sitting here underneath this painting and piece of art. It just feels like a place to sit if you want to take your shoes off or whatever. Again, from the original structure of the house, we have this huge double door, and during the war they would have put up these bars that cross the door like this. You would slide it in here, and it almost barricades the door and locks it and gives it extra security. I would say all of the doorways on the first floor, actually on the second floor, have these bars that go across, and I think that's a really cool element that is from the original part of the house and built when it was built by the Army. The light fixture in the foyer is something that's unique as well. To me, it sort of looks like a sea urchin, something like that. And we do live at the beach after all. So this was selected and hung here. It's really large in scale, and the colors pair well nicely back to the oil rub bronze things that we have, or the brass things in the house. And it's kind of just a big statement piece, while it also has a lot of light bulbs, so it does provide some light as well. Welcome into my formal living room. I'm going to take you in here, and one of the things that I want you to especially see is this really cool floating coffee table. This is a piece that we had custom made. This table is a few hundred pounds. When we moved here from New York, our movers they were not happy with us. One of the things that makes it look like it's floating is we had a acrylic base created for the bottom of the table. That way it's clear and you don't see how it sits on the ground. A few pieces that I have on the table are this really cool bowl. It's porcelain. It's also done by a local artist here in Charleston. Her name's Maria White. She works primarily with porcelain, and she had this 24 karat gold paint that she rimmed the edge of the bowl with, and I think it just adds a little something special and shiny to it. We like to keep a lot of art books around our house, and this one sitting here actually is the history of Sullivan's Island right on top. It was one of the first books we bought when we came here because we were so fascinated with the history of the island. Another thing I wanted to point out in here is on our sofa, you see these white oak carved legs. I had mentioned in the foyer that I love the designer Jean Prouvé. One of his signature styles is to do a sloped triangular leg on his furniture. So we had the sofa custom made to fit our space, and had a woodworker carve the legs to look like a Jean Prouvé style leg. So, and the style of the fabric and everything almost makes it feel a bit mid-century as well to go with the design. As we walk around, you may notice we have a lot of artwork hanging on our walls, photography, paintings, and things like that. My husband and I love to collect art. He especially. One of his favorite photographers is Stephen Shore. So you'll see here a photograph by him here and here on this wall too. These were taken in the I would say 1970s. So I think they fit with a cool mid-century style of some of the pieces in our home as well. Also in this room, we have a painting that was done by my daughter when she was 3 years old. So we have professional photographers as well as some art by our kids too. Another thing I can show you here in our living room is little knickknacks we like to keep around. This glass jar right here, for example, is just filled with shark's teeth. We live at the beach. My kids love to collect shark's teeth. They're wandering around or going to Morris Island or other places where they can collect shark's teeth. Because we have really high ceilings in our house, it is really important to come up with light fixtures that work really well. So this is a light fixture that's pretty large in size, and it's made of cocoa beads, which I think is really special because it kind of adds a little bit of island flavor back to a house that doesn't feel so beachy. Over here on this side of the room, we have these cool plastic molded chairs with a wool fabric. And I think it's cool to add this element of modern furniture to a historic house. I love the juxtaposition of the two kind of going together. So here's an example of that, I would say. And now I'll take you into my formal dining room. But before I show you around in here, I want to point out the sliding doors that you'll see all around our house. These are also original to the home. They're incredibly thick, over 2-inch thick solid wood doors. They're really, really heavy, and we don't move them very often because of that. But they connect all the rooms on the downstairs floor. So we decided to paint all the doors in our house Charleston green. They look black, but there's a slight green undertone to them. I think it draws your attention to them. You notice the details, they're different from the walls. They become something that's eye-catching, and the doors themselves have so much presence and interest that it's something I want you to notice. The height of them is really tall, and you just wouldn't see doors like this in a house built today. As I mentioned earlier, you would see a lot of artwork throughout our house. This is one in particular I wanted to point out. This is a reproduction of a Degas, but it has a cute little story behind it. This came from my husband's grandmother. This was hanging in her apartment in New York City, where he grew up and where she lived. And his whole life, he thought this was a real Degas painting. And I think his mom even thought it was real too. So after she passed, they went through all of her belongings and discovered that this was not real. And they still offered it to him and asked him if he wanted it, even though it was a fake. And in the end, of course, he wanted it. It was his grandmother's, it was sentimental, and he always, used to look at it when he was at her apartment hanging out with her. You'll see a lot of fireplaces in our house. We have 5 operating fireplaces that are original. One of the unique things about them is they have these mirrors above them on a few of them. And sort of columns, all original tile, things we've never replaced. We have painted them, but not replaced anything on the fireplaces. And just keep some knickknacks, candles, flowers, photographs, decorative elements around them. But it is a unique feature of the house to have 5 working fireplaces in one home. During the 1800s, early 1900s, there wasn't any heating and air conditioning, so they would use the fireplaces to heat the home, and the wraparound porches of the house would keep the house cool in the summer. As we're moving through the dining room, I want to point out the dining table and chairs. We had these chairs, they're vintage. They are rebuilt and varnished. We had them brush and darken the metal frame and upholstered them in a light colored leather. This kind of gives a more of an antique quality to them, as well as the table itself. The base of the table are brass legs that are antique. They are burnished brass and they're darkened to make them look older with age. And then on top, we had this really heavy, I guess we like heavy things, glass table cut for the top. It's about 1 inch thick, solid piece of glass to kind of give it that illusion of water almost sitting on these table bases. The candelabra here is another antique piece. My husband, he got that from an art show somewhere along the line, I'm not sure. But it just adds a nice, it ties the whole table and the pieces together for us. As you can see, we have bookcases in our dining room. I don't think that's a very typical thing to do. I think at one point this room was not used as a dining room. It was possibly used as a secondary sitting room or office for the officers that lived here. So you can treat these rooms how you will for today's living. We came from New York with a lot of books. So we have these bookcases here filled with tons and tons of little antiques, knickknacks, and hundreds of books. I'll take you over here to this cool little bar cart. This cart is a piece that my husband got from his father. It's an antique piece by a designer named Edward Wormley, and it was made in the mid-1950s. This side over here opens, so it extends, which is really cool, so you can have more bar space if you're having a party. And you've got your cabinet, things for your wine or other liquors. And above that, we have a painting by Calder from the 1940s. So we have a lot of different mixes of art in our house. Next to the bar cart, we have this table, which we used in New York for a different reason, but when we moved here, we thought this is a great opportunity to put in the corner. So if we're hosting in our dining room, we have additional seating, we can move the table out, we can serve food from here. So for now, we have it here with these fun, funky, red leather upholstered vintage chairs and this cool black table. Again, you'll see the black color, just pops of that coming throughout with another black and white photograph that we have in the home. My path to interior design was an interesting one because I started as a model when I was 14. I traveled the world. I lived primarily in Paris. I lived in Milan, Tokyo, Australia, Miami, LA, New York. I lived in New York for cumulatively 17 years. And that was my career. At the middle of my career, I went back to school. I went to Parsons School of Design. And originally I had wanted to be a fashion designer, but when I was working as a model, I discovered that I saw the industry inside and out. I saw every aspect. I saw how it would be like to be a designer and what they went through. And I realized, I think I just like clothes a lot more than I like to be a designer. So I chose my path to be an interior designer at that time. After I finished Parsons, I started working for a designer who was actually my studio teacher in New York. She was an incredible designer. She took me under her wing and she was my mentor. She showed me everything about the industry. She taught me how to do my billing, my sourcing, custom furnishings, custom draperies, everything I needed to know I learned from her. And I'm grateful for that. So when I had my daughter, I left working for her and I started my own business. So I've had my company, Sarah Heckler Design, for about almost 10 years now. My daughter's 9. And so that's really how I got into interior design. And now I work here in Charleston, but not limited to. I do have clients in other states as well. The den is where we love to hang out. My husband and I watch our shows in here every night. I would say this is probably the coziest room in our house. To give that cozy feel, we added this textured grass cloth wallpaper. So all the rooms in our house are painted except for this room. And I think just having this added texture gives a room so much more warmth and coziness. And in this room, we also have a fireplace that's a brick fireplace. In the other rooms, they're all tile and wood. And in here, you have this dark Carolina brick. During our construction to the house, we had noticed that over time, the house had gone through many different hands. And the joinery of the brick was it did not look good and it was not authentic to the home. So we had a mason come in and do what's called a sloppy joint. And that is what is joining these bricks together now. And that is what they would have done back in the 1800s. So the other feature of the fireplace that we did not love was it had a white block, plain painted mantle. And it just did not feel authentic to the home. So we had this log sourced from a 1700s cabin, I think in North Carolina, but we had a woodworker bring it down and finish it to fit the fireplace. And one of the cool little things on here is this wormhole that comes down the front, and it just has so much character, nail holes, wormholes, splits in the wood, and I think adding this has completely transformed the fireplace in here to feel like they would have originally had it with the home. I'm embarrassed to admit this, but it's so hot here, we've never ran one of our fireplaces. We also have more bookcases here in our den, as well as the dining room. But we have a lot of knickknacks and things I can point out to you. This is funny, I actually love, my husband has this old head, and he puts when he makes his calls, he takes his phone and he connects it to this headpiece and he rests it there, which I think is hilarious. This carved piece of porcelain up here, I mentioned the artist to you earlier. Her name's Maria White, and she is a local porcelain potter, and she hand carved that little bowl, which you can put a candle in. Different things to an old cigar box that was my husband's father's, shell that you might find somewhere here in Charleston, a lightsaber from Disney World, different pieces of random art. If you come over here on the other side of the fireplace, we have the other bookcase with lots of other funny things. I don't know, I always love this too. It's a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man from Ghostbusters, or these cool funky candles. They're a pair of legs and you can light them. Some little sculptures are pictures of our kids, a huge piece of coral. We live at the beach. I try to include a little bit of elements that are coastal, even though this house is not that traditional, what you would think of coastal home. I would say it's more coastal military. This is another photograph that we've collected over the years. It is scenic with the ocean and cool vintage car. I think, again, something appropriate for living at the beach here. We try to bring a little bit of those elements in. Over here, you'll see this vintage Eames chair and ottoman. This was a piece that was given to my husband from his father as well. So we like to keep these pieces around. They're comfortable, they last forever, and this is a piece original from the 1950s. There are so many doors in this room. We of course have the sliding doors to come into the room, but then we have two sets of double doors, and this door would have been the exterior door to the house at a certain point that would have led you down to the side porch. But at a certain point, they've enclosed the porch on the side of this house, and now it is an air-conditioned space. So it's just a funky, cool feature to have a room where every single wall is covered in doors except for the fireplace. We did work to this house. It was move-in ready when we came here, but as we lived here, we started to see things that needed to change for us to feel like we could live in an old house but yet have a more modern living situation. The house is very traditional in its layout: formal living room, formal dining room, family room, and the kitchen was off to the back of the house, which is not integrated in with your living spaces. And we knew that we were going to have young kids, and how are we going to see our kids play in their playroom if I'm cooking dinner and trying to move on with my life, and I have no idea where my kids are, unless they're in the kitchen with me bothering me. But anyway, so we did have to do a major renovation, which we did during 2020. We did an addition on the house. Actually, I'm sitting in the room right now where we added on to the house. We added this family fun playroom area to our kitchen, and made it more of a open living kitchen floor plan. We hired an architect here. His name's Bo Clowney, and he is well known for working on historic houses as well as new homes. We came up with some ideas. We gave back enclosed porches, which are another key feature to this house. It has full wraparound porches that they would have used back in the 1800s, early 1900s when there was no air conditioning. It provides shade and keeps the house cool during the summer months, which is very hot here in Charleston in South Carolina. So that was definitely necessary. So we worked with the town. We gave the porches back. We reinstated them to the original way they would have been back when the house was built. They're open air porches now. They wrap around the house, and we added on to the back of the house where the kitchen is. Welcome into our kitchen. We did the bulk of our renovation in 2020 in the kitchen. The majority of our time is spent here in the kitchen. I think for a lot of people it is. You hang out here, you eat here, you hang out with friends, you socialize, you party. We're here a lot. We cook 3 meals a day. We cook a lot in our house, so we're always in our kitchen. We cooked a lot in New York. I think we were one of the few families in New York that cooked all the time and didn't get carry out every night. But we love to cook salmon, steak. My husband grills a lot. We always eat together. We eat together as a family, not every night, but most nights. And so we're always in the kitchen. So we have a marble countertop on our kitchen. I know a lot of people do get worried about marble countertops and staining and things like that. We have not had any issues, and we cook a lot. I think the primary thing that people get worried about when they say staining, it's something from my world that's called etching. Etching is when the stone has been, the polish on the stone has been removed in an area, and you only see that in certain lighting and if you're looking at the countertop at certain angles, and it's something that just doesn't bother me. If you are in a working kitchen that you're using all of the time, it's almost adding character. It's like buying unlacquered brass. Our faucet over here is unlacquered brass. All these things here are unlacquered brass. This is hammered copper. These are living finishes that change depending upon the cleaning that's done to them, the polishing. The air exposure alone changes brass. I love to see the little speckled, blemishes on the brass. It adds character, and there's so much character in our house, it just makes sense. One other thing you can see in here is this beam right here, the choice to not have painted this. We added shiplap, which makes it feel more modern in today's world. They would not have had that back then. But again, you have this juxtaposition of what was and what is now. This beam right here goes up and across the ceiling. That is a structural beam to the house that's supporting the ceiling. And that is another example of what was originally built here, and we left it exposed and unpainted so you could see that. In the kitchen, we have this kind of quarter half of the kitchen where it's a lower ceiling height, and you come in over here and the ceiling drops up or goes up about, I don't know, 1.5 feet. And that also tells a story. I wasn't here for that story, but at some point, one of the owners decided they wanted a larger, grander kitchen. And there was probably a wall here. And they removed that wall, but they wanted to keep the ceiling, that precious stamped tin ceiling, intact. So you have that ceiling here, and then it goes up and you continue on. We preserved that, and then the wall was taken down at a certain point to enlarge the kitchen for today's modern living. During the renovation, we also wanted to change out some of the lighting that was here earlier. Again, you see this drawback to some black accents or gray. We put these almost like cafe style sconces on the wall to add extra light for the countertop in here. And then over here, we did the same thing with a chandelier that has, I think, like 20 light bulbs in it to just brighten up the whole kitchen. I love the use of a grand statement piece for a vase on a kitchen island. This was actually a vase that my husband gave me for Valentine's Day. And I think it's so cool. It's glass, it's ribbed, it's ombre, it's dark, it's light, it has a lot of detail. And then I can go out and forage branches from the yard and fill it with that and have a huge kind of living green thing here in the kitchen, which adds so much life. Here you'll see a huge cabinet. We had to add this because the kitchen itself doesn't have a ton of cabinetry. So this is almost like a china cabinet. We keep all of our dishes, kids' cups, plates, everything that we use primarily in the kitchen is here. We have floating shelves in the kitchen, so we do not have a ton of cabinet space. So this was definitely necessary for everyday living. Next to the cabinet, you'll see this really cool, bright colored, large painting. This was done by a friend of ours who's an artist named Gonzalo. He is from Uruguay. I don't know, I just think this is so grand and big. It's a statement piece in the room. It's fun. We have kids, we entertain, and it just adds color and life into the room. Behind the painting you'll see this kind of brick wall piece here. So originally this was where you would have had a wood burning stove. Back in the late 1800s, they would cook their food here. And that's also why you see my kids love to point this out, which I think is hilarious. They think we have a paper plate hanging on the wall above the painting. It is not a paper plate. It is tin. It's a tin piece that's used to cover an element of the old burning stove that was here. But now it just adds something cool and funky to the kitchen. It's a conversation piece. We decorated our home primarily with our furnishings that we brought from New York. I would say we have a bit more of a modern style with mid-century mixed in and a lot of antiques, as well as new furnishings or custom furnishings that we had made to fit our apartment and now our home here. We weren't sure that our furnishings were going to fit this style of this house because it does have a very specific look. But I do love the look of modern furnishings mixed with an old, ornate home. I think that the juxtaposition of those two things, modern and old, gives a sense of balance. And you'll see those as we walk through the house. Now I'm going to take you into the sunroom. The sunroom is connected to our kitchen. This was an exterior wall here. So before our renovation, this was the wall to the house with a door that would open up and go to our old pool that we had. So through our renovation process, they blew out this wall and then added this room onto our kitchen. This is where all the light is primarily coming from. So our goal with this room was to make it feel like the outside was coming in. All three walls around are all glass windows. The light comes pouring in on this side of the house in the afternoon, which is amazing. So it's rarely ever dark here. One of the things that I can show you is our pool is off the back side of the house here. So you also have a view of the pool. Speaking of bringing the outside in, this is the room where we keep all of our plants. This tree over here is a fiddly fig tree that we got more than 15 years ago. So he is thriving and alive here in the corner of this room because he is just soaking up all of the light. And we gave him a pot that's kind of a yellowish color to add a little pop of light in here. We call him Mr. Tree, that's his name. Mr. Tree made the move with us from New York. The movers were a little worried about that. They did not guarantee Mr. Tree would survive the move, but Mr. Tree did. He survived, and now he's better than ever right here in this corner of the room with all the light just soaking on him. On the credenza is this incredible, incredible butterfly dome. I had mentioned earlier, my friend and artist Dawn creates these domes. They're 19th century domes. The glass is huge. This is one of her largest pieces, and she's filled it with white and black speckled butterflies. They're real butterflies that are preserved, and she does these creations and makes them feel like they're flying all around the glass dome. The dome is an antique piece, so again, it feels authentic to the home, and it has a lot of character when you look at the details. We have my kids' little plants on the credenza, And next to it are this kind of cool stacking stool set. There's some blue. We decided to get something with color and oak, mix the colors together, tie it back to the credenza. And also it's fun because you can use this as extra seating for when we have guests. They kind of just come apart, you stack them, and it adds extra seating at the table when we have friends over. And the same woodworker who did those is actually a German woodworker, Stottmann. They built this bench that we have here. On our bench is Fuki. Fuki is our bonsai tree. My husband gave me this. It was another Valentine gift, actually. And Fuki is, I think, 27 years old approximately now. It's a really old bonsai tree, and we take really good care of it. And clearly, Fuki also loves to be by the light. So this is a cool feature in this room. We were trying to figure out how to solve this. This was the exterior window on the outside of the house before the renovation. So before the renovation, I would have been standing on my porch, on a small porch on the outside of the house. This window goes to our laundry room. But now that this is a room where we live and hang out, we didn't want to get rid of the original window because it's cool, but we also did not want to look directly into our laundry room. So we found this cool glass that has a motif, like a relief print on the glass that kind of disguises. You can let the light through, but you cannot see through it and see my, hanging laundry. But it is from an era, this pattern, I would say, is a historic pattern. And I think that also complements the house itself and something that they would have used when the home was built. A couple tips I could suggest for decorating your home would be, for us, working with the home, let the home speak for itself sometimes, especially with a historical home. We never tried to take any of the innate character and structure away from the home. We always worked with those things. Everything we did during our construction phase was actually to bring it back to its original state and preserve the incredible historic nature of the house. I think through furnishing the home, you can add in your personal style, but not fighting with the architecture of the home itself is really important. So here's our backyard. We added this during renovation as well. I mean, the yard was here, but before renovation, we had this 1990s vinyl liner, I called it the Mickey Mouse head shaped pool. It was kind of tearing down the sides. We knew it had to go and it needed to be either repaired or something new needed to come. So when we decided to add this glass room, windowed room onto our house, we knew that that would be kind of encroaching on where the pool was. So we hired a landscape architect, and they came back and redid a whole plan for the backyard. We did all new plants, bushes, shrubs. They dug a big hole, they filled in the old pool, they pulled it out, and we put in this awesome, big, modern but traditional shape rectangular pool. We lined the patio with travertine stone. It just felt right with the home. We love to host our friends, our kids, friends, everyone back here. They swim all summer long, and we have a blast in 100-degree weather in South Carolina. So on the other side of the yard, we have our garage. We come down these little stairs here, and this is like a little side yard where my son loves to play soccer. He's really into soccer. So this was kind of a gravel pathway that led to the front of the house, and our landscape architect helped us to make this a better use of space. The grass is brown right now because we're in early spring here and it hasn't turned green yet, but we do get luscious green grass back here and it's perfect for kicking the soccer ball around. So over here on the side of the house is kind of a funky little feature. We have this bulkhead, which reminds me of Wizard of Oz when she was going underground to get away from the tornado. But this goes underneath our house. Back in the 1800s when they built this house, their thinking was that if a hurricane or flooding were to come, since we're on the coast, that we should dig out underneath the house. So there is about a 7-foot height under the home. So if water were to ever come up here and rush through during a hurricane, then the thought would be that all the water would go under the home and not in the home, or could at least be displaced temporarily underneath the house. So this bulkhead opens up and you can kind of go down these old creepy stairwell that leads you into this dirt cement. It's sort of a basement, but you can't use it. But it's the dug out basement from underneath the house. Home means to me a place where we can come and relax, hang out with our kids, and really enjoy our space. I'm a homebody. I think my husband is a homebody. We really love to hang out here. I want to be happy, whether my house is 1,000 square feet or 10,000 square feet. I want to make it feel like it's mine. I want it to have my personality shine through, my husband's personality. I want it to function so that we can live with our kids and not feel that everything is sacred and precious, but some things are too. So I think that we have a good balance of that, and home for me is a place where I can feel safe and relax and enjoy my space.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.